Now, this is a shocking question to ask a teenager. Would you help your mother have an affair? That is exactly what Adrienne Brodeur did. She was just 14 years old. Her mum woke her up in the night and told her, all secretly, that she just kissed a family friend. And then after that, for 10 years, she helped her mother by providing alibis and excuses so that she and this man could meet up. Now an adult, as you can see her there, she's written a book about the experience. And she does admit, I love my mother, but I do believe that she really failed me. And I have to say, we were talking about this morning, I was really shocked when I read this story and actually quite disgusted by it, because I thought that is just... So to hand that information to a young girl, and I think it sounded like she made it all exciting, and to make her complicit in that, and you know, her confidant, is just wrong on every level for me. It's like grooming almost. It's like saying, it's our secret, come over here, don't tell Daddy, come over here. I just thought it was terrible, and you should, to me, should never share. I'm not judging a person on having an affair. It happens, we know it happens. But to then involve your children, 14-year-old, in that deceit is what it is, I just thought was absolutely terrible. And I haven't read the book to see how it went on to affect her in her adult life. But, I mean, your parents divorced, didn't they, when you were young? Were you aware of anything going on? Do you wish you had have been aware?
I mean, it's a really different scenario. I feel exactly the same about that story. It just feels so wrong on every level. But with my parents' divorce, if I'm honest, and I look back, I felt like, for our best interest, they did their best to gloss over everything and just say, you know, Mummy and Daddy still love each other, but we're not together. And I think, from their parenting point of view back then, they didn't want to burden us with any of the details, or, you know, they didn't want there to be a conflict.
How old were you?
I think I was about 7 or 8, I can't remember. And they didn't want us to like one parent and not like the other, so they kept it very neutral and didn't give us any information. And I remember just questioning it all the time, thinking in my head, was it me? Was it my brother? Was it my sister? And I think there's a really fine line between sharing with your children just a little bit of information so that they don't sit there going off on a tangent in their brain about what the hell has just happened. But then
how do you share that information? You know, if it's a relationship problem, you know, how do you share that?
Well,
do
my
you
parents
give them chapter and verse of why you and Daddy aren't... You know, to say, Daddy and I, you know, we love you, but we're not getting on so well, we're having some time apart or whatever. But then, you know, do you really want to go into detail, whatever age, even if they're
Well, my
older?
parents didn't tell me anything. I mean, all I knew is they were arguing a lot and they stayed together, but my sister and I would hear the arguments and we would, you know, it does have quite an impact on you. And then I suppose over the years after my dad died and then after my mum died, I found out more and more about their relationship from other relatives. And I suppose that I felt that I didn't really own my childhood in a funny way. I mean, I wrote a book about my mother as a way of exploring why I never got on with her. But even a few years ago, I heard another story from a relative who said my father... The reason my parents weren't getting on and arguing was because my father had an affair with a woman who was my godmother. And I just think, oh, I don't want to know any more of this. It's like you...
But you're saying that as an adult, and you said you've written about it and wrote about the relationship with your mum. But would you have wanted to know that then? I don't know if
I think we're assuming that all children are the same, but they're not. My sister and brother were quite happy with the surface-level information that they got, and they carried on with their lives, and I just wasn't like that, and I felt like I needed more.
But based on that, then now with your boys, who, you know, who are how old?
Nearly 8 and 12.
Yes. So about the same, similar age when your parents got divorced. Just say something happened with you and your Joe's relationship. How much information do you give them? So
now I feel like I would definitely delve in a little bit deeper than my parents did, and I would definitely let them know how I was feeling. You know, because back when I was a child, my mum would be upset and we would have no idea why. She would try and hide it from us, but we'd always know. And I think that they did that in our best interest, with our best interests at heart. But some children take it
But you'd be
personally and think it's
conflicted,
them.
Kelly, though, wouldn't you? I mean, this girl was saying she said, you know, I loved my mum, and my mum was obviously happy and she was all excited. I kind of got swept up in the excitement and wanting to keep her happy. But that's right.
I
So selfish.
think I do think that's selfish action, and I think that it caused division because she's actually playing the father off against the mum and siding with her, and then making this whole seedy thing feel like it's okay. It's not okay. It's not acceptable, and what she did, I think, was wrong. But in terms of my relationship with my children, I tend to be really open with them, and I have a really open dialogue, and I tend to be maybe more transparent than other parents would maybe feel is acceptable. But for me, I would prefer to have an open conversation because then they'll know exactly what I'm feeling, how I'm thinking. I mean, it's always age appropriate.
And also, each child is different.
Yeah.
I can be open with Zach in a way that I can't be open with Leighton because they handle things differently.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have no problem with being open. It's not that, you know, if you're discussing sex or drugs or rock and roll, whatever. But I just think when it comes to your personal relationship, and if you are parents to that child, to then say to them, you know, no, Daddy and I aren't together because basically he's a lazy whatever and he doesn't do this.
Nobody's
I
talking
don't
about
think
playing
that child
parents off
needs to be
against each
burdened
other.
with that.
I don't think that's what we're talking about here.
No.
We're not talking about let's slag off the other parent and
Definitely
then you know the reason why. It's more about I would have loved to have known when my mum was hurt and what she was feeling, just so I didn't think.
But could you
it
have
was my
dealt with
fault.
it? That's the big
Well, I
question.
didn't deal with it the
Because
other way around.
It's interesting because we're talking about it as from an adult perspective now, aren't we? Of what you think you could have dealt with at that age and what you really could have done. I don't know. So many comments. I don't have time to read them all out, but thank you. Sarah says children should never be dragged into adult situations. They should never be used against the other parents. Jazz says if they ask about your relationship, share. If they don't ask, don't share. And lots more like that. Very, very mixed, actually. But thank you very much because we love to get involved in the show.